GM hired me to bring back Pontiac. Here's the 5 vehicles that I would build to bring them back.
Part 2.
To my surprise, the most requested vehicle was actually the Pontiac Vibe, which I never was a big Pontiac Vibe fan, but I never drove one, so I couldn't really tell. But a lot of people were like, I want you to make it like a GR Corolla hot hatch, which I think would be a lot of fun because GM has never really had that in their profile. Another absolute crowd favorite is the Pontiac Solstice. We're going to give it a manual, give it a twin-turbo V6 engine, and I think it would just be an absolute blast of a car. Everybody thinks that the Pontiac Fiero needs to be redeemed, and I agree. So we're going to bring back the Pontiac Fiero. Now, a lot of people have suggested we just need to put it in a C8 platform and maybe just like tone down the engine, which I don't agree with that. I think it needs to be kind of more like a Lotus Elise type car, like a Lotus Evora. Basically a smaller chassis than the C8, smaller, a little bit more nimble, and just give it a turbocharged 4-cylinder that is super high revving. We're talking like 9,000 RPMs with a turbo. Give it a manual and call it a day. Everyone kept saying, you're going to bring back the Grand Am and not the Grand Prix. So here's a render for like a more like rounded off Grand Prix. Now here's my actual opinion. I don't really like so much when Pontiac went from the Grand Prix and the Grand Am to the G8 and the G6. So here's my better plan. We're going to rebrand that G8 into the Grand Prix, and we're going to rebrand the G6 into the Grand Am. The G8 becomes the Grand Prix, the G6 becomes the Grand Am, and I think it's just better nameplates for Pontiac. If you want to see the engine and transmission options I have for those, go back and watch the previous video after you finish this one. Touch on everyone who said that all these vehicles are going to be way too expensive and the manual just needs to die or you can't put a manual. We're talking about the top tier package. So we're going to have lower tiers. So we're going to have a Grand Prix that's got an LT4 instead of the LT6, and it's got, you know, a standard 8-speed transmission versus the manual. Like, you will always have lower tiers. But what I'm talking about is the top tier package, something that's really going to excite people and bring them into the brand. To finish off this list, last but certainly not least, we have to bring back the GTO. I mean, it is Pontiac boiled down to its very essence. So we have to have an awesome Pontiac GTO with an LT7, so twin turbocharged, 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8. The thing would just absolutely scream. It would be so much fun. My only issue with bringing back the GTO is I don't see a market where we can have a GTO and a Firebird Trans Am. I just think they're gonna monopolize each other too much, but I could be wrong. Let me know what other vehicle I'm missing for part 3 for Pontiac coming back to GM.